like you're thinking it'd be so much better if I skated in, but it's not happening. not a chance today. So let me introduce myself, I'm Jo. When I was younger, I was massively into roller skating, and me and my dad had a matching pair of inline roller skates, and every weekend we'd go out and use them. I even had a pair of wheels that you had to attach to your trainers because they couldn't afford Heelys, but they used to light up. I always used my inline roller skates. A few years ago, I went to a roller disco where a women's roller derby team were there promoting the sport. And I was really taken back, and I took my inline roller skates, and I didn't feel like I belonged there. Everyone was looking at my inlines like, oh gosh, what are those? You can't wear those here, we all wear quads. And I was like, oh, I want to go home. And I went and spoke to this roller derby team, and they're like, look, to be involved in the sport, you need to get a pair of quads. And I was like, okay, I'll go home. And I rang up my dad, and I was like, Dad, I know you really struggle sometimes to get me Christmas presents, but this year I want a new pair of roller skates. And he was like, what for? I was like, I'm going to join a roller derby team. He's like, no, you're not. I was like, I am going to join a roller derby team. He's like, Jo, you haven't got the build. And I was like, don't worry about that, we'll sort it out, but let's get the skates first. So we went to a shop called Big Boys Toys, and we bought this pair of roller skates. They're beautiful. And this got me thinking, what's the difference between inline skates and quad skates? So I'm going to teach you the difference between the two pairs of roller skates, and hopefully you can leave today knowing how to use your roller skates. So quad skates, also known as the four-wheeler, these offer more stability, and they're what you use these for, like your roller derbies and speed skating. They come in a variety of fashions, so you can get them to look like Converse. But these are the preferred skate when it comes to like moonwalking and things like that, and being able to do tricks. You often see them in music videos when they're skating down the strip in California. They're cool. Inline skates. So these are also known as rollerblades, and these are also for speed skating, but a lot of roller hockey teams use these, but they're not as stable as the classic quads. So there you go, that's the difference. This was me when I was a child, the child that loved roller skating in one of the classic church hall community centre chairs that are quite recognisable. If you haven't sat in one of those, you haven't lived. But all seem happy and well, but it wasn't the case at home. I grew up with my mum and granddad. My mum was disabled. She was in a car accident before I was born, was told that she couldn't have children, but here I am today. But that trauma led her to drink alcohol. So growing up, I had a disabled alcoholic mum that I cared for. I was responsible for putting her to bed when she'd had too much, for breaking up fights when she got too aggressive, and just offering her the general care that she needed. My education suffered. I enjoyed school, but I only enjoyed it because it took my mind off what was happening at home. I never really grasped how to write and how to hold a pen properly. So at the age of 23, I still write like I'm about to punch the table. So that was my education as a child. By the time I got to college, my mum had married another alcoholic. He'd moved in, I was kicked out. And my mum was drinking up to a bottle of rum a day. I was skipping lessons all the time to go and visit her in hospital, where she was suffering from jaundice and liver and kidney failure. And the night before I was meant to sit my first A-level exam, my mum died. And my hope of progressing through education was completely lost. I thought that was it for me. I thought it had ended, and I didn't know what I was doing next with my life. I managed to get into BCU though, and this is where I came and studied. I sat a few exams and I came here. I did a textile design degree for 3 years, and I absolutely loved it. I think I'm very good at it, it's my passion. But I got to my third year and I felt, I don't think this is for me anymore. And we knew that the student union elections were coming up, and if you won, that guaranteed you a job at the end for a year. And my best friend was like, Jo, I'm going to run in the student union elections. I've submitted an application. Will you be my campaign manager? I was like, yeah, of course I will. And then I submitted an application the day before the deadline. One, she didn't. It was quite awkward. But I'm her bridesmaid this year, so it's fine. I ended up being the vice president voice here for a year, where I looked after educational policy. And then I ran again for president, and I was president of this university last academic year. And I had the best time ever. But the only reason I got there was because I was curious. I was curious, I got involved in everything, and that's why I'm standing here today. So I'm going to tell you two things The two reasons why I'm here today. The first is education and the second is curiosity. A lot of people will say education transformed my life, and that certainly resounds with me. Education did transform my life, but first and foremost, education saved me. And if education wants to continue to transform other people, then education needs to transform itself. Learning and teaching inside and outside the classroom needs to change so that people are continuously learning and bringing in new ideas. Education should never be monotonous. The second thing, curiosity. Curiosity should benefit learning and teaching. It should benefit our ongoing development outside of work, outside of school, outside of university, and it should influence the development of new ideas, new ways of thinking, new ways of working. Why do we often limit ourselves in work to just the things we know? And in education, we limit ourselves to a curriculum that's already been designed for us. And it's got me thinking, whose responsibility is lifelong learning? The ownership is on us to continue to develop, but I also believe that people in authority should be creating spaces for people to also flourish and continue that learning. So this was me when I graduated with my granddad, who I live with. Bless him. Granddad Jim, you can call him. I firmly believe that we've overcomplicated the simplicity of exploration. So that's why I've developed 4 steps to help you capture curiosity in order to transform your life. So this is what I've called Joe Goodman's Capturing Curiosity Cycle. It's quite easy to learn. So the first, create. I hope I created some curiosity by bringing in roller skates in the title of this talk. And often we need that catalyst to capture. So capturing the curiosity, acting upon it, and then cultivating the curiosity. So it's not just left in a box, but it grows and it develops and it continues. And then celebrating the curiosity at the end. I'm going to share with you a pet hate that I've got, and if I was ever on room 101 with Frank Skinner, this is what I would take. And it's when you meet someone new and you're getting to know them and you're like, so what are your hobbies? What are you into? And they're like, I don't know. I've got no hobbies. That really annoys, like, why have you got no hobbies? Why? And that's either because you've got hobbies that are for behind closed doors, which is fine, or you've missed out on the Joe Goodman's Capturing Curiosity Cycle. Wouldn't it be great if in the next year every person in this room could stand up for 5 minutes and talk about everything that they're interested in? And that's my challenge. But let's talk about celebration. How often do we struggle to give ourselves recognition for trying something new? How often do we fail to miss that important pat on the back process? A few months ago, I saw a new recipe. I'm not a very good cook, I'll admit that now, but I like giving it a go. And I'm quite addicted to the online videos that you find on social media that show you how to cook recipes really quick. And I found one for Chinese dim sum. I'm quite partial to a Chinese every now and again. And I thought I'm going to try and make some dim sum myself from scratch, not go to a supermarket and buy it all, but I'm going to go from scratch. And I invited my other half round, and on the table there lay a Chinese buffet. And he was like, what are those? I was like, that's dim sum that I've made. And he was like, doesn't look like dim sum. I know they look like Oriental Cornish pasties. But I was like, okay, I'll do the first bite so that you don't get salmonella. And I took a bite and I was like, that was awful. I'm not making these again. And I was like, please don't eat them. And he was like, no, I'll eat them to be polite. And he did, and he was ill the next day. So I will never make Chinese dim sum again. And the reason I'm telling you this is because if I'd have took the time to cultivate that curiosity and perfect that recipe, I might be in a Michelin star restaurant now making dim sum. I know that's a bit unrealistic, but I'm aiming high. But that's the point I'm making. I'm just going to take you back to these roller skates. They're so beautiful. There's actually something really, really interesting about these roller skates, and that's that I've never worn them. I've never used them, only for this photo that I took, and even then I put them on the wrong feet to start with. But I was curious about roller derbies and roller skating, and we went to Big Boys Toys and we picked these out, and I was like, yes, this is the start of my roller derby career, and I never ever used them. So my question to you today is, what are your roller skates? What's the curiosity in your life that you need to revisit in order to unlock transformation? So my challenge to myself, I'm speaking to myself as much as I am to you today, my challenge is get up and put on your skates again. Thank you.